Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to implement a function to insert a data item into our table. Now, in the previous lesson, we created a table, but we couldn't find it. And I stated that the default region for the service may be that it's created in US East 1. But that may not be the case. This may be caused by my default settings in my configuration file. If you remember correctly, in my configuration, I set my location or my region. I set my region to US. I set it to US 1, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go back to that file and see. So when I come over here, remember we did this setup. When I come to config over here, I'm opening this in Notepad. So I set my region to US East 1. So this may be the reason why my region, the things, the assets that I create are in US East 1. However, in my dashboard, my default region is the North 1, because when I created the account, it just gave me the region closest to where I was or where I am as I create my account. So just make sure that your dashboard matches with your configuration, the region value you have in your configuration. Okay, so with that, dealt with, let's get it in for today. Over here, where is my Explorer? Okay, we're gonna insert into the table. I'll clear this over here. I'll make a copy of this. Copy over here, paste over here. I'll rename this. I'll say number 8. I'll say table insert. Like this. Okay, and then I can clean this long situation that we've got ourselves into over here. And I'm gonna say over here def insert perhaps data into table, or perhaps I'll give it a more fancy name, db table insert. Like this. It's much more robust. We pass the table name as the first argument, and then so we would use the schema we've created for our table. Remember, our table has this schema. This is the schema, 2 attributes, sensor ID, sensor name. So the functions that we develop will be based on this schema. Okay, so to insert, I'll say you pass the table name, and you pass the sensor ID, and you pass the sensor name over here like this. And then you can let the user, or you, if you are the user, you pass in the location. I'll set a default location to US East 1 as per my config file. And once that is done, we get it in. We use a try catch block over here. Try except block, not try catch. Try catch, I think it's Java. I'll say DynamoDB, or I can simply say DB over here equals bootto3. So I'll say bootto3 dot resource. We've got to indicate the resource we're interested in. We want DynamoDB. Such a nice name, Dynamo. And then the region here is the region that will be passed as argument. So region equals region over here. Region name equals region name, I should say. And over here we say table here equals our DB dot table, and table here will be the table name, the argument. And then we would say item. Now we would arrange the item to be passed. Item here, key value pair. The key for sensor ID is what the user would pass as the second argument, sensor ID. And then sensor name over here is sensor name, like this. Okay, once that is done, we would call the put item function, which will return a response. So I'll say response over here equals table.put item, put underscore item here, and over here I'll say item equals our item that we've created above, and we would print the item. So print over here, and then I'll say over here data inserted, and we want to print the item like this. And then we would do print again over here. We say over here response, or put item response. Like this. Response. We're looking good. And we handle exceptions. You see, exceptions helped us in the previous lesson, so it's always good to know what error you are getting. Over here I'll say print error occurred. My occurred is not spelled properly, and we can print the error here like this. And once that is done, we can give it a spin. Say test over here, and table name, we would fetch the name of the table, place it over here. I'm tripping. And over here, let's see, we want to enter sensor ID 1, and perhaps let's say sensor name, sensor underscore name over here equals temperature sensor, like this. And let's get a name of our table. This expert core sensors, copy over here like this, and we can call our function over here. I'll copy this, and over here pass the first argument, table name, second argument, sensor ID, last argument, sensor name, like this. Control S, and then we can run this. Click here to run. Let's see, data inserted, sensor ID 1, sensor name. Okay, so that's the response. So if it's inserted successfully, we can confirm that by clicking over here our table, and let's see what we've got. Overview is giving us overview here, indices over here, global table, backup, overview over here. Over here it's saying item count 0, so I'm going to click refresh over here to see. Item count is still 0. Where are we? Let's click over here, explore table items. And now we have our item here, items returned 1. So we have sensor ID 1, temperature sensor. Okay, sensor ID 1, temperature sensor. Now what we're gonna do, you know, we could proceed here like this, but in our schema it will be helpful to have, let's say, the sensor value. But we can do that when we start interacting with our embedded device. We could have sensor ID, sensor name, and then the value of the sensor. Oh, but you know what it is though? Since this is a NoSQL database, this is the advantage of NoSQL database. Since it is NoSQL database, later on we can add a column. If we want to add a column for the ID, we can do that later on. We need not start from scratch. We need not destroy the database and construct it again. So currently we have sensor ID, sensor value. Later on, when we connect our microcontroller and now we have the actual sensor value, we have sensor ID and sensor name currently. When we connect our microcontroller and we start receiving the actual sensor value, we can add a column for sensor value. there's the flexibility of having NoSQL databases. Okay, so that's all there is. We've seen how to insert items into our database. I'll see you in the next lesson, and I hope you're finding these lessons useful. And I want you to use this in your project. It would make you develop more advanced systems rather than just blinking LEDs. We've got to take it to the next level, all of us. So I'll see you. Have a nice day.